Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and thanks for tuning in, much appreciated. Got a really good tip for you guys today. We're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics in bass fishing, and that's pork frogs. But hey, before I get started here, I just want to address one thing in a lot of the comments I've been getting. I've got, seasonal allergies pretty bad. I have for years. And no, I'm not smoking pot every day. I get these comments. Everybody in the comment section sees me puffy and my eyes red, and they want to know if I've been smoking pot. So no, I haven't been smoking pot. I've been seasonal allergies or getting up early in the morning. So I wanted to address that because if you guys look through some of my comments, you'll see people saying that quite a bit in there. But anyway, today, man, I've got something that's it's really, I just love talking about it because they're one of my favorite things to use, and I haven't got to use them in a long time because they've been discontinued, and that's pork frogs. I grew up fishing pork frogs. I started fishing them back in the late 70s. I became a pork frog master over the years. I mean, between like 1980 and probably, I'm gonna guess, the early 2000s, 2000 and up to about 2002, from 1980, over 20 years, I used pork frogs almost exclusively on my jig trailers. And I got to learn a lot about them. I got to understand the characteristics. I got to learn about them intimately. And for whatever reason, I've heard a lot of different things. Uncle Josh quit making them several years ago. I think they had some issues with getting the materials, the pork, or the type of pork they needed. But they came back out with them. And they're available now, and I'm going to give you guys some secrets that I haven't shared with anybody on how to fillet a pork frog. And this is, by learning how to fillet a pork frog, it's not only going to get you more bites because it gives the bait more action. More importantly, it's going to allow you to land the bites that you get. Because if you guys have ever fished a pork frog a lot, you know that the meat on the thing is it's not like a soft plastic trailer we use today. It's hard on certain parts. If you get the point of that hook in some of the pork, you're going to lose those fish every time. So I'm going to give you guys a tip on how to catch more bass and not lose the ones you get. So anyway, I'm going to go through my whole pork frog filleting process, show you guys from start to finish what I do with them, and we'll go over them. Here's the new Uncle Josh jars that they got here. To be honest with you guys, I'm a little disappointed because the only two they make is a number 11 and a Big Daddy, which are two of my least favorite kinds. My favorite is the number 1 pork frog. Hopefully they'll bring that back at some point because I think that's the best size of pork frog to use on a jig. I don't know why that they didn't include it. A number 1 frog catches so many more fish than a Big Daddy does simply because of the size. It's about right. So anyway, let's go through it. I'm going to show you guys start to finish what I do with them. So here we go. Okay guys, here's the Big Daddy pork frog right here that we got. This is a pretty big bait. This is like close to 4 inches long. Like I said, I prefer the number 11, but this will give you a good idea of how I fillet them because I fillet them out all the time. And as you can see here, you got a lot of pork right there. You've got a lot of fat on the underneath side. You've got the top side, which is pretty hard. This is pretty firm, pretty thick stuff. It's really hard to get a hook in there, or penetrate a hook in there. A lot of times, what happens is this tail, it'll flip around and get the hook point in it, and that's when you lose a lot of those fish. But the thing that I'm concerned about here is I want to thin out some of that meat right there because you don't really need that. You need some of that meat, but you don't need all the meat. You don't want any of that meat to impede the action or the hook setting penetration capability. So the first thing that I'm going to do with this thing is, like, here's where your hook goes in most of the time, in this part right here where your hook goes in. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to cut out about 1/4 inch there and open that up a little bit. So I've opened that up. See how much that I've narrowed that down. Now the amount of pork that I had, you can see I've actually taken 1/4 inch off it. My hook goes through right here. I've got a lot less basically material to have to worry about, and it gives me a lot more of the actual hook point and gap right here. That's the first thing I do. The next thing I do is I come in the sides And I want to take some of this side off, this side meat off, like that. So I've come in there, take a little of that side meat off, go around the back side of it, do the same thing, like that. And then I also come in the back side here, and I want to take that little ridge off right there. So what this does, and then sometimes I'll come in here if there's a little bit of high spot right there. I'll take that little high spot off on both sides. And all this is doing, like I said, it's freeing up the pork frog to have a little bit more action, and it's taking away a lot of that meat off it. So let me get one out of the jar here, and I'll show you how they are right off the bat. The difference. So you can see the difference in the two right there as far as the flayed out one goes. The two differences. And the main thing about that is the meat factor right here is so much more thinner on that. So that's a pretty simple process that I have on there, as you can see. So sometimes I'll trim the leg on a little bit, and sometimes as well I'll take it and I'll sometimes trim off a little bit of the side like this, the actual thick part of it. You know, it just depends on the look I'm wanting to give. If I want to narrow it down a little bit, I'll show you guys what I do on that. And you can modify these up a lot. You can take as much off as you want based upon what you're trying to accomplish with it. Sometimes I'll take it down even that much there, and just take a lot of that meat. But that's the basic modification on there, and do that every single one. I never fish a pork frog unless I do that to them. So anyway, guys, here's again, I'm going to show you the finished products. I was trying to get fancy with the different, I had my camera set up on a little mount, so I wasn't sure how the video turned out. But here's my basic differences in the two. Here's the way we started out with. This was the stock out of the package, hadn't been touched. And this is our modification by the end. You can see the difference. The main thing again is this hook gap has been increased there. I've taken some off the edges, as you can see right there. A little bit flatter across the top there. Doesn't seem like much, but I'm telling you guys, this will make a big difference in landing those fish and hooking those fish when they do bite the frog, because like I said, you don't have the ability on a piece of pork to collapse it down like you do the South Plastics. That's probably one of the biggest drawbacks of pork that it has, is that if you don't fillet these out right, and you always have that variable of setting the hook on it, and you'll be fighting the fish a little bit, and then it just comes back to you with the point of the hook buried in the pork a little bit, and this is going to help that quite a bit. But guys, I would highly suggest, I don't get anything from Uncle Josh. I never have. Not sponsored by him, never have been. But man, I'm telling you guys what, you need to be using pork. There are times when it is the way to go. And one of the things I'll tell you guys about pork, it's got this myth behind it that you just need to use it for cold water. People think for some reason pork is cold water. Guys, I have ripped them on pork in the middle of the summer in 100-degree water. I went through, back when I was fishing a lot of the regional and local stuff, like the old Redmans, which are now BFLs. I went on a tear back in the 80s in the middle of the summer with just nothing but jig and pork frog on it in dirty, muddy water. They'll bite it all year. And I'm telling you, the bigger bass will bite pork over plastic without a doubt. There's certain times when plastic is better. I don't want to get into it in this video. We'll do some videos down the road, but a lot of it has to do with water clarity. Water clarity and the type of cover you're fishing is the thing that dictates when you use pork or plastic. And like I said, I'll do some future videos on that. But I just wanted to show you guys my little pork filleting trip. A pork frog filleting tip. I never ever fished a pork frog without doing exactly what I told you guys. Every single pork frog I do the same way without exception, and that's something that I've learned from just fishing them for 40 years. So hope you guys enjoyed the tip. Get you guys some pork frogs, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. If you like the tip, much appreciated, and we'll be back soon with another one. See you.